2024 has been the year of the indie game for me, and with new indie games constantly coming out that are fueled with passion, I don't see myself being in short supply in 2025 either. For the first quarter of the year, I dove into Ocho. With its unique art design and gripping soundtrack, this game alone relit the fire in my soul for gaming. Then Transistor, with its beautiful story and art design, showed me that sometimes you just gotta give a project a second or even third chance. And my most recent addiction being Darkest Dungeon with its brutality and sheer cruelty that brings me back to the first time I discovered the Souls series. So when I was browsing through Steam's catalog and ran across Post Void, just on art design alone, it grabbed my attention. And on first glance, it looks like an old school shooter with an odd art style. And well, that's what it is. The developers, YCJY Games, are quoted saying, "With Post Void, we wanted to make a focused, cheap, and intense little game where we could focus on iterating and improving a simple game loop as much as we could." And they aren't kidding when they say cheap little game either. It'll only run you $3, and I even picked it up on sale for $2. And each run of the game, even if you drag them out, it's only going to be about 10 minutes.
Realistically, you're looking at 1 to 3, depending on how long it takes you to get past the first couple of levels. There is a story to Post Void, but just like the past descriptions, it's short and to the point. And I'm going to let y'all just watch the story video so you can get an idea of what's going on.
Post Void consists of 11 levels, spread across 3 acts and an epilogue, where the only goal is to reach the shrine at the end before your idol runs out of liquid. You constantly lose liquid as you go, and any hit you take will knock a bit out. You can get more liquid from killing enemies, and there are upgrades at the end of each level that allow your idol to hold more liquid. Yes, there are upgrades to get, and if you've played any roguelike in the past decade, you understand what the upgrade system's like. At the end of each level, you get 3 upgrades to choose from, and you don't even have to choose one. If you hit the escape key, it'll just take you straight to the level. Now, these upgrades consist of exploding enemies on death, a compass to not get lost if you're a dumbass like me, more juice for your idol, and even a knife for our British viewers out there. At the moment, there are only 4 weapons to choose from: your starter pistol, a shotgun, Uzi, and the knife. Honestly, they all work great, and it's just whatever one vibes with you the most. I found myself loving the knife after ignoring it for probably the first 2-3 hours of gameplay. And so honestly, just give every weapon a try, and just whichever one you like, you'll run across it after your 2nd or 3rd level at the upgrade screen. Post Void is going for a bright, trippy aesthetic, and the enemies help blend everything together. The first enemies you're going to run into are called suits, and at first glance they just look like normal guys in a suit that aren't wearing shoes for some reason, but they have deformed heads just like your character did in the story intro. And then later down the line you'll run into unique designs such as a light bulb on top of a hand that flashbangs you. So for the love of God, don't play this game in a dark room because you will be blinded. And I'd be a liar if I didn't admit this honestly made me rage quit a couple game sessions just from their flashbangs alone. There aren't that many enemies in the game, but you can feel the love that's pouring into each one of their designs. And if you're like me, you'll end up despising certain enemy types as you run through the void. However, I will say, just like the warning that was at the beginning of this video, this is the first game that throws a strobe effect, lighting effect warning that I have ever taken seriously. The first time I played this game, I was in a pitch black room around 3 in the morning. And when the death scream happened, I physically recoiled from the lights flashing on my screen. Now, there is an option setting to turn off the excessive amount of flashing, and what they'll mainly do is every shot you take won't have a flash, and your death screen won't be basically an epileptic fit waiting to happen. Now, the designers do recommend playing it without the accessibility on, because that's what the art design calls for. However, I completely understand if you have to play it like this. I played most of my sessions with it on, just for ease of my eyes. For my short time exploring YCJY's catalog, I can tell you how much they care about audio design, and it really shows. Every run you do isn't going to last long, so there's only one music track, and at first, I didn't really like it. It was kind of grating, but after a while of playing, it's perfect for the pacing of the game. Every time I started getting into Act 3, the high intensity of the music mixed with my own heart pounding would have me slamming the restart key without second thought on loss. But it also levels itself out by fading into the background every time you finish a level and you're waiting to pick your next upgrade. This is kind of your time to simmer down and level yourself for the next level you're about to run into. However, if you aren't a fan of the music, you could always turn it off. When I first wrote this, I was going to make a joke about the irony of calling people out for turning off the music because it's not fun or what the developers asked for, even though I play it with the accessibility moment on. But because there is one achievement tied to turning the music off, I turned it off, and that is where this game's sound design really shines. Every enemy has its own unique sound. The suits bark when you get shot. You can hear the flamingos from a hallway away. And even the disturbing flush doors that I'm not even sure if I can show on YouTube are beautifully crafted in sound design. And my hat's off to YCJY for just the brilliance of it. You feel the power difference in the pistol and the shotgun. And you understand why the Uzi has such harsh recoil. And then even the knife has its own eargasm-worthy sounds when you're carving through enemies. Like I previously stated, the suits let out a bark whenever they're wounded, and anytime you splatter an enemy with a headshot, the sound of viscera can be heard flying through the air with a pop. That's just perfect. Honestly, when I was writing this script up, I wanted to take the time and talk about each enemy, but I would much rather you just go pick this game up for the measly $3 it is and just play it for yourself. If you don't like it, you'll know within the 2-hour refund limit if it's really that big of a deal. But I really just recommend you experience this game's enemies for yourself, because you can really feel the passion put into their designs by these two young developers. Post Void is a tight-made FPS that will only run you $3, and it's worth the price. One thing I gauge my games on, as someone who doesn't have the most time to play during the week, is how much fun I can get out of a game for the price of it. And at this moment, I've almost played this game for 10 hours. So for less than 30 cents an hour, it's definitely worth it. YCJY Studios also has 2 other games in their catalog, being The Aquatic Adventure of the Last Human. What in the hell is that name? And Sea Salt. Both of these games look amazing. They're both in a pixelated art style, which I'm personally a fan of. If you're not, I get it. And I'll definitely be picking them up in the future. And they have another project in the works that you can actually get a demo for right now. It's called Keep Driving. And it's basically an RPG where you drive a car and your enemies are tractors going slow on the highway, and you find in like an abandoned car on the side of the road. It's honestly a really neat idea, and I played the demo for about an hour or two, and I could say I'm definitely wishlisting and excited for its release. Anyway, thanks guys for watching, and please go show these two guys some love. You can tell they're really passionate about their projects. They've got a YouTube channel they do constant updates on for their projects, and just I love seeing these small indie developers just shine with their projects. Anyway, guys, have a great day and go play some games.